good day. We're here again. It is Atlanta Discuss. Yes, every Friday we have to come back to you. I'm going to do it in the Australian way again today. I'm going to say good day, because if I normally I'll say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes, my Australian people say just say good day. That suffices because I know my friends in Bangalore, India, they are 12 hours ahead of me already. And the Australian people, maybe they're almost asleep and in the next day. So that's why we're here today. And you know, a lot of things are happening all over the world, and I'm always inclined to look at Nigeria first. It's my country of birth, so I cannot ignore it. It's the largest concentration of Black people on the planet. I've told you before, 1 out of every 4 sub-Saharan African is a Nigerian. 1 out of every 6 Black person in the whole Black world is a Nigerian. That includes Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, myself, and every Black, that kind of thing. So you cannot ignore that kind of country. The country is acting way behind schedule. A lot of things are going wrong. The likes of Nelson Mandela have said that if Nigeria gets it right, Africa will get it right. The Black world will get it right, and the rest will be history. But far from that, the women folk in Nigeria, erudite, educated, are not having a fair bargain. We will have the likes of Okonjo-Iweala, Obe so many of them doing extraordinary things all over the world, in the United States, in Europe. But yet we've never had a female president in Nigeria. I'm one of those that believe that it's high time. We've had these people become ministers and they did extraordinary things. But right now we have challenges. Why is there unfairness to women in the Nigerian political space, the challenges, and everybody knows about the Natasha issue. That is what has really erupted into, I don't even know how to qualify it. But today we have a special guest, a very special one at that. She's an engineer, a special one. She's a project manager. But above all that, she's involved with the Africa Leadership Group. They're doing a lot of extraordinary things. They're now in Ghana. They've been in Nigeria, doing so many things, a lot of empowerment, enlightenment. I don't know if I should call her an activist, but in my opinion, she qualifies for that because she's a no holds barred person. She says it the way it is. But she's not the first timer on Atlanta Discuss. So today we have Jumoke Akin-Taylor. Jumoke, welcome to Atlanta Discuss.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure
You're
to
always
be here.
welcome. You're always welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you for all you do. You're doing a lot for Africa and Nigeria. So we really appreciate it, especially with the ALG.
Thank you.
So let's cut the chase. Our tradition, we like to kick the ground running, do justice. And we're going to break into about 5 segments, really. I'm looking at women representation in politics, challenges facing women in politics, empowering women and young girls. I know you're passionate about that also, personal experiences and insights, and of course, addressing systemic barriers. So how do you think Nigerian society can work to address the underrepresentation of women in politics? And what roles can organization and individual play? Let's start with that.
There's been a lot of discussion about how we can do that.
Right.
And we, since this Natasha issue, a group of my mentors, aunties and mummies in the space, we've kind of come together to talk about what do we need to do. And of course, people will talk about policy change and the importance of having maybe a quota system to ensure that there's a certain number of women in certain positions. But I take an exception to that because we shouldn't be allowed to do things. And it should be, and I don't know that we can dismantle the cultural issues right away. But I remind people that these men come from women. These men were born and raised by women. Most of them are married to women. The ones that are not married to women have women friends or girlfriends. So there is this responsibility that maybe we, the women, haven't taken up in shaping women's representation across. I don't know that there's any man that doesn't have some affinity with his mother or his sister or his wife or his girlfriend. And to a large extent, women can influence men to do the right thing. So what is really happening? that we are not brought to the table. We don't have a seat at the table across the board. And I'm going to say something that's probably going to shock everyone. And I think we women have to do better. We need to stop seeking permission to be present. We just have to be present. But it seems like we're constantly seeking permission. And maybe it's you and I were having this conversation just before we started that, oh, you can't be overly assertive as a woman. You need, and our culture, our parents raise us and grandparents raise us that don't talk too much, don't be so assertive. They're going to think you're too strong and then you become unapproachable. We're kind of thought to be docile somehow because that's what's attractive about a woman. And it has gotten into this man's head that is what a good woman really should be: docile, quiet, not assertive. If you're strong, hide your strength. So we need to change that mental understanding of what a good woman is.
Is it a cultural problem? Do you think it's cultural?
I can speak for, I think it's cultural to a certain extent. You and I are here in the US. We do have our challenges here, but it's not as obvious. It's not as in your face as it is in Nigeria. I am in the construction industry. As a woman, I know that I've faced some issues or some challenges, but it wasn't overt. It was more covert. In Nigeria, is overt, is in your face. It's like, there's nothing you can do about it kind of attitude. So that's why I say it's more cultural.
Cultural. Okay, I agree. All right. So, what are some of the most significant challenges that you have faced as in politics? I mean, I know you're not a politician, but we're all in politics, one way or the other. We're opinionated, we have views and all that. And how have you overcome it? Maybe not in politics, but give us an example of a challenge you faced and how you overcome it. I'm asking this for younger people, that fall within that cultural deficit, that are scared to talk, I mean, we're still going to talk about the Natasha case, but I'm sure there are a lot of people that were emboldened by what she did. You understand? That even despite that, they still don't know what to do if they find themselves in those kind of scenarios. So do you have an example you can share with us on how you overcame it in your scenario?
Yes, and I would speak more on the Nigerian space and this
Space.
work
Okay,
of
fair enough.
advocacy, because sometimes I'm an activist, sometimes I'm an advocate. So it depends
Yes, you are an
on what I'm
activist.
up against. But in this space, and I've been in this space of trying to advocate for good governance for probably about 20 something years. As you know, we started with NIDO, and I was one of the few females on at the table on the board. But I was fortunate at that time that my male colleagues respected me and respected my opinion, and I had a voice. But out in the public, out in the public space, in some settings, there was this kind of, why are you so aggressive? That was one word that you will hear as a way to kind of quieten you down. You are a woman, you shouldn't be so. And I'm not going to mention his name. I was in New York at that time, and I went to inaugurate a New York chapter. We had this meeting, and this guy was looking at me. He was from the same tribe, the Yoruba guy, and he just came out, wanted to kind of shut me up. And for a little while, I kept quiet, let him finish his thing. But the way I responded to him wasn't the way he expected. He thought I was going to fight back in public. And so I was very quiet, and I spoke very calmly to him and almost apologetically. And people were shocked. People that knew me were kind of shocked that I was being apologetic publicly. But I didn't want him to also pull me into a dirty space in
Oh,
publicly.
wow. Okay.
So I asked to have lunch with him so that I could explain
He will
um,
have been excited.
about one-on-one. and just so that he has an understanding of what I'm doing, and he must have misunderstood. So it was at the private lunch that I gave him my thoughts
Oh,
and
wow.
set him straight on certain things. And I think I shocked him
Mm.
because it was a public space. I made sure that it
Wow.
was public. It was afternoon. So it was there that I really stood up to him
Mm.
and, addressed what he had done and how wrong he was for doing that publicly and trying to silence me or, put me down. He really was shocked. But we became friends because he
Wow.
turned around and said, I really respect you for not calling me out publicly and for not how did he put it, for not disgracing me. That was the word he used publicly. So,
Oh,
and I said, I'm not disgracing you privately. I'm just telling you that this is not okay and this is not acceptable. So I use that approach. Um, and and this is because someone once told me, an uncle told me something that I've been using. He said, when you play with pigs, you get dirty.
oh, wow. That's true.
And so it's a consciousness that I have that I don't let people pull me into dirty fights.
Right. Mm.
So I kind of detect how I respond to those situations. And in this space, fortunately, I have a very good mentor, principal. I've had issues where some men have tried to be assertive, more like
Mhm.
kind of shut you down kind of thing. And I've handled it in a way that has also kept them at bay. But Pastor Itwa is our principal. He also sets the tone
Mm.
that in this organization, women will not be disrespected. They are equals and their voices are respected.
Right.
And so he gives everyone that equal platform, not male, not female, but like as equals. So that has also really helped me to be more, I've got something to say and I'm going to say it.
All right. Let's talk about Natasha Apoti. I mean, she clearly has a lot of axe to grind with the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio. Yeah, I mean, the case was not treated fairly from all indication. I mean, one would have expected that if the Senate President didn't have anything to hide, she'll have allowed, its nature to take its due course, let the law, go into all the nitty-gritties, and that absolves him easily. But my question really is, for a senator of the Federal Republic and a woman, she's timber and caliber, no doubt. Now, accusations were hinged on sexual predator, I mean, harassment and all that. Do you think women can navigate that space in the Nigerian politics? Because I've spoken to a lot of women, and I mean, and I've heard women tell me that it is impossible. I'm quoting them now. It is impossible to succeed in politics in Nigeria as a woman without sleeping with one or two person. That you just have to, you know. So my question is, in the case of Natasha Akpoti, I mean, her husband also is timber and caliber. I mean, let's assume she didn't have that kind of husband. Do you think she could have weathered the storm? And if it was you, there's a 3-in-1, so you have to pardon me for bombarding you with so much. If I also want you to put yourself in our position. What would you have done differently? You know, yeah. Over to you.
So I disagree that every
Mhm.
woman in politics or in leadership has to sleep their way to the top.
Good stuff, yeah.
I completely disagree. I am fortunate to also have known some people in politics
Great.
that fight
Mm.
their way to the top,
Top, yeah.
or just use or get there because maybe they're destined to be that. Do they face sexual harassment? Yes.
Mm.
In this Natasha's case, a few of us have gotten together to kind of talk about what do we do, women, older women, and the chilling stories I heard, and I
Mm.
mean chilling stories that I did not in 2020, we are in 2025, that women are still facing this kind of issues in their offices today uh, from their male counterparts, whether it's jokingly, whether it's just, whether it's seriously as well. but a lot of women face this harassment, sexual harassment, verbal harassment, whether they are walking down the corridor or they're whatever they are wearing, they face harassment. And it doesn't matter what their status is. So I want to put that, but there are a lot of women that have stood their ground and, kind of maintained their dignity, that I will not allow you harass me. And then you find that they take a very serious stance, a serious position. Like the Obis and the Ngozi Okojo during their, I was fortunate to have also met them when they were in office at that time. And a lot of the women that were in position at that time took their job very, very seriously, and they were very professional. So you would have to be someone they drove from Twilight Zone for you to approach them with such unseriousness. They still got harassed, but by a few unredeemable people. There are some men that are unredeemable. There's nothing you can do about them, until Jesus face we see. But to a greater extent, they maintained a high level of professionalism. And a lot of women still do in politics. It doesn't mean that they are not harassed. But I think when they maintain that position and then, put the stance that I don't need your permission to be myself, when they are more assertive, I think they tend to weather the storm a lot easier than women. We just believe that, okay, because I'm a woman in this space, I'm automatically a victim. And so I'm going to need your permission, or I'm going to seek your assistance to do what I do, or to be good at what I do. I think those are two different perspectives that get two different results.
Okay. Great. So on Natasha, yeah, I mean, she's clearly handling it very well. I mean, I've been following it. I like the fact that when she left the country, she spoke to Joshua, BBC, Jeune Afrique. I was counting on my fingers. I'm like, man, I probably a bit more than he can chew, But so what would you have done differently? I give it to her, she's handling it well. But if you're a senator of the Federal Republic and you had that kind of, what would you have done differently? Do you have handled it differently from what she's doing? Or is there something she has not done properly?
Natasha is, I call her a hero. And this has nothing to do with her personality or whatever stories they're carrying about her.
The bandy about
it's
her.
about her being courageous, her audacity to stand up to bullies. And that's what for her to be able to stand up and say, I don't need your permission to be in this space. I have a right to be here. But what I also like or love about Natasha's approach is her strategy. She's not throwing her arms out there wailing. She's very strategic in her approach. And she's like one step ahead of the game. And she's using her brain. She's not shouting, I'm a victim, come and save me, come and help me. No, she's saying that we are in this battle and I can match you and I'm going to fight. Not just as a woman, but as a human being. And I am going to be prepared to fight. And if I win, I win. I'm going to be prepared to fight to win. And if I lose, it's not because I haven't given it my all. That is one of the things I really love about Natasha. Her boldness and her courage to dare to be different. Knowing that the women folks will call her names, men folks will call her names, but she's daring to be different. She's daring to stand up for what she believes. And as I would say, stand up to bullies. Her arrival on helicopter was just like, okay, you think you're smart? I got something.
It was not expected.
It was not expected. So that is the planned strategic response to the situation. So she didn't go get start screaming on TV, they won't let me come in. You won't let me come in through the road. I can come in through the air because
And
she
like
does have
like she said, the land belongs to her. So
Yes,
they can't
this is
fault
her
her for
father's
landing a
land.
job on a piece of land that belongs.
Exactly.
There was
Yes.
another case, I think with Dr. Ezekwesili in the Senate. I don't know if you saw
Mhm.
that
I
with
saw that. So
yeah,
I
with the
follow almost
senator from the
everything.
Boeing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wait, now she told the guy, shut up, you
Mhm.
know. She told him, shut up. So do you think she was right in lieu of the situation? Was she right to do that at the Senate hearing publicly? I mean, clearly the guy did not speak like a distinguished senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But was Dr. Ezekwesili right to tell the guy, shut up
I don't know what transpired before, and
before?
would I use that? Would I tell someone in a professional meeting to shut up? No, I wouldn't. And that's my approach. Uh, First and foremost, she's a good 20 years older than him. So maybe and I'm not making excuses. So maybe she brought in the cultural aspect that I am
Look
your
at this,
senior.
my
Listen
son.
to me. Yes. And we tend to do that. So I
Hmm.
don't know what her thinking was or why she said that. But I wouldn't tell someone, regardless of how old that person is, that is a counterpart in a meeting, to shut up. I
Because
wouldn't use the
the
word.
guy is a chief, a senator, and he's saying, I'm going to report to the Igbo traditional, one is a traditional council, and which goes back to what we were discussing, culture. You understand?
Mhm.
I mean, culturally, I mean, what the guy is saying, I don't know what the culture there really says, but I know that he feels that, well, a woman should not have spoken to a senator, a distinguished senator for that matter. You understand? And on the other hand, I mean, 20 years is a lot. It's a lot of difference, you know. Anyway, so let's share personal
He
experience.
was badly behaved. He was I'm sorry,
Oh,
he
it
was
was
very
wild. It was
badly
wild. You see,
behaved.
I said it.
He
That's why
did
I
not
harped
act
on
like a
the doctor.
professional. He
No, it
was
was.
not a professional at all. And regardless of what she said, she was his elder. He has a mother at home.
Mhm. Absolutely.
He has senior sisters at home that he shouldn't be speaking to in that manner.
Mm. I mean, look at the example you gave ab initio about the guy when you were in New York, the guy that was, yeah, I mean, if you had gone on a shouting match with the gentleman, he would have been the hero of the day. They will have joined the two of you together. People are considered Jumoke is this, Jumoke is that, she's ill-mannered or cult or cult, yeah. But
Yes.
now you brought him to lunch and told him the story of his life. And I'm sure we'll never forget that day, you know. Mm.
Okay.
Oh God. So how do you think education can be used as a tool to promote women's empowerment and increase their participation in politics?
See, women's empowerment, why does it have to be women's empowerment?
Not everybody, the men need to be empowered too, right? Culturally or
I mean, there are a few things that need to be knocked into some men. Should it really be women's empowerment or is empowerment? And I think we also have to understand our unique roles. I'm not a feminist, but I tend to believe that we are all uniquely created to fit our role for what God has designed us to do. And we must understand that. I'm not going to change tires because I was not designed to change tires. That's me, my own thing. But I also believe that women have to understand that we are builders, we are nurturers, we are supposed to be the leaders. We raise this men.
Mm,
There's a reason why God decided to give women the role to carry a child for 9 months and then bring them into this world and then nurture them. I think when we understand that superior role of impacting um, people or our children or both men and female with the knowledge and the wisdom and the skills they need to be the best they can be, that role largely falls on women. And so women empowerment should be it's
It's an
I
unfair
think
language.
so. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so
Let
because
me help you out with that.
you're busy empowering these women, making them feel that there's a deficit somewhere. So we're making up for that deficit by giving you all these resources. There's no deficit in
After all, the poverty in the land is all encompassing. The enlightenment is
yes.
all, it shouldn't be, yeah.
There's no deficit in women. So it's like, oh, we need to give you this extra help. No, I think the men need more help in terms of really understanding relationships. And I'm not talking of men, women, I'm talking of relationship, whether you are a lead in your within your office. How do you lead? By example, what kind of relationship do you have with your with and I don't want to use your subordinates, those that report to you.
Mm.
How do you relate to those that are your colleagues? That is largely missing from men. So they need to be empowered with understanding how to relate to people at different stages.
Okay, fair enough. But let me add this to the Natasha case. I mean, the First Lady, Mrs. Oluremi Tinubu, in a statement she made, was not particularly supportive of Natasha. Senator Kingibe, who is the senator representing the Federal Capital Development Authority, did not even speak in favor of Natasha. Former Senator Florence Tagiwa, did not speak in favor of Natasha. Former Senator Olujimi, same thing. So, I mean, as we continue to say women, she was unfairly treated, but a lot of women for reputable timber and caliber did not support her. They came out and, spoke clearly against her. I mean, why should that be? Because at the end of the day, why I'm asking this is that it's not just that the women are against that, but we've seen scenarios of men in power also destroying the country, maladministration. All these men are married to women. Do you understand? And I've seen women with 10-car convoys, governor's wife. I've seen it. I counted. I've seen minister's wife, that kind of thing. And so why we keep saying women, is it fair to just castigate the men? I mean, a lot of these women too are part of the problem. I mean, look at the example I gave. The first lady, incumbent senator of Abuja, the sitting senator rather, Mrs. King. And these are powerful people, who should not care whose ox is God, especially in a very clear scenario like that. At the best, they should be neutral, saying that, let the investigation, So don't you think most of these issues are self-inflicted on the part of the women too? Don't you think the women are part of the problem?
No, women are definitely part of the problem.
Mm.
And speaking to these people, I don't know why. Maybe it's the position that they hold
Mm.
that makes them timber and caliber. But
Mm.
if you can't speak truth to power, then you really don't have. I don't hold you in that kind of high esteem. I'm sorry. If you no, seriously, I cannot call you
Mhm.
timber and caliber when you see something that is obviously
It's
wrong,
glaring, yep.
clearly, and then apportion blame to supposedly the victim. And again, we have to separate Natasha's personality
Mhm.
from what is going on. And I think a lot of women are kind of, well, she did this before. No, that's not the issue. This
Mm.
is a crime that was committed against her,
Mm.
that she has alleged was committed against her. Whatever has happened in the past has nothing to do with what is happening here.
Absolutely. I
And
agree with you.
some women also, I don't know why, they also speak against other women for self-preservation.
Mm.
And I think it's very selfish and is a disservice to womanhood. If
Mm.
you're not going to speak truth or objectively, then leave it alone. Then do not speak at all. But if you're going to speak more for yourself because of maybe what you feel you're going to get, or you want support, or you want support from everyone else for your own personal gain, then I don't see those people as people that I would respect as women in leadership. I would not. I wouldn't call them my leader. I wouldn't call them my role model or people that I want to look up to. And they've also damaged a lot of young people coming up because they are instilling in them that this is what you need to do, self-preservation. You don't need to support truth. Maybe the way you go about it is, for you to belong or for you to be accepted is you need to maybe speak against another woman or do not speak the truth. That is a disservice, not just to themselves, but to generations. I mean, to the young women that are coming up. You're teaching something that shouldn't be out there at all. And I listened to some of their comments, and honestly, I was not happy at all. I was not happy because I just thought it wasn't the right thing to do as a woman in leadership.
So in Nigeria generally, do you think we have, because there's something that I've been saying that a lot of people don't agree with me. I have said that, so for some reason I think Nigerians are inherently dishonest. And I'm not saying this, I'm not saying every Nigerian, I'm sure there's a negligible percentage somewhere that does what they should be done, Like the question I asked earlier on, I was talking about, I mean, all these governors have wives. I mean, let's take the Southwest, for example, where majorly Christians. All their wives go to churches. You understand that kind of thing. I mean, I'm inclined to say that if all those women at night before they sleep tell their husband the truth, maybe half of this problem will be solved. Maybe there's culpability. But where am I really going now? Now, do we have a moral crisis? In Nigeria, do we have a morality crisis? Because the judiciary is moribund, it's non-existent. The legislative arm of government is dead. The executive, we know, near rudderless, and clearly the ship of state is not well steered. So if we're having all this crisis and we read women are the bedrock of the nation, women are the this, I mean, women are the prayer warriors, and women are the this, and women do all the fasting, they go to church. Do we have a morality crisis? And if we do, is there a way out of it in the ensuing meal? Is there a way out? Because it's not looking too good overall. Is there a way out?
I think we have a moral crisis.
Mm.
I really believe we have a moral crisis. And we've discussed it on this platform before that
Oh,
it is
yes.
not just political leadership that is deficit in Nigeria,
Mm.
religious leadership, traditional leadership. We have major problems with every sector of leadership. And I'll use and growing up, and I'm sure you can reference that too. I was fortunate to have met my great grandmother, very strong woman, and because of her age, she was the one that was home. I would go back, I'll go to school and come back, and she was the one that was home while everybody went about their business. But a lot of the values I learned was from her.
Mm.
Um, I remember I was about 7 or 8 years old when there was a young man that came looking for one of my aunties. We lived in a compound and she sat in the major courtyard. One had to come through this courtyard before you could go anywhere. And she asked, "Whose child are you?" And he mentioned his father's name. And she took the broom that stays next to her and chased that guy out of the house because his father was a contractor that had a reputation for cheating people
Oh,
with the
wow.
gravel, that he never had a full tipper. I was
Oh,
7 years
wow.
old when
Oh,
this thing
wow.
happened, and I recall it like it was yesterday.
Mhm. Oh,
And
wow.
then my auntie came back. She was 22 at that time. I will never forget. She took
Wow.
that same broom and beat her up and told her, "If I ever see you with that guy again, if he ever comes near here." She was 22. She came back from work. She took the broom and started hitting on her because his father's reputation, not the guy's reputation. So we grew up with this kind of women in instilling in us moral responsibility and integrity and accountability. This is how I think a lot of households in the 60s, 70s were raised.
Great.
Then something happened with this message of you have to be rich, then your name and integrity. and character did not matter anymore. It was all about money. What is the way out? And I say this, and it's not just because I'm a Christian that I say this. Until we get right, until we get right with one another, until we ourselves face the truth about who we are, that the way we treat each other violates every human principle, it violates God's principle, it violates every religious principle, whether you are a Muslim, whether you are a Christian, whatever religion you are. If you don't treat people with dignity, respect, if you don't treat people how you want to be treated, there is no way. You have a society that is deficit, and there's no turning back on it. You can go to church and pray 24 hours a day. Even in the churches, we are busy ill-treating each other. We are busy being territorial. The politics in churches are worse than the ones in
In the
Abuja,
political parties, yeah.
in political parties. So until we
Okay.
come back to ourselves, to that true spirituality, to that fear and reverence of God, and treating each other like we want to be treated, I don't know that there's a change. I don't know that we can change if we don't have that change of heart. And if we do not give up self-serving, um, I have this status thing that I have to be seen, and the idolization of money and status, until we destroy those gods, those idols of money and status, carry me, as Yoruba people will say. I don't know how to explain that in English. That is at the center of our challenges in Nigeria. Why would you, as a governor's wife, need 10 escorts? Where are you going? And you're probably taking that to church. Then you are going to go and oppress the people in church. And
Yeah.
as you're coming in church, they'll probably be driving people away. Don't come. These are people that you are supposed to be equal to.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
until those things start to happen, and until we in whatever religion you are, until we start to take that moral stand to say no, this is not going to happen here. I say the way we worship our pastors, or the one so-called, maybe the minister, you get up, you're running all over the place. Maybe it's our culture, I don't know. But there is that idolatry practice everywhere across our society. Until that changes, I'm sorry, I don't think there's a way out.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree with you. I even agree with you more than you think, because I see it too. I've experienced some of these things, and I don't have a problem saying it. And I was in a discussion some days ago, and I was like, do we actually have Christians in Nigeria? That was part of it. Because if we do, I mean, based on the belief of Christianity, equality, justice, fair play, saying the truth all the time, irrespective of whose ox is God, one would expect that the leadership of churches in Nigeria should be more vocal, vociferous, especially in lieu of Nigeria's present predicament. But the reverse is the case. So my observation with the people I discussed with was that, it's turn by turn Nigeria Limited. And one of them now said, you might be right. Maybe we're inherently dishonest. Our leadership today, Nigerian leaders, are a reflection of who Nigerians really are. So it's turn by turn Nigeria Limited. The poor man today thinks he'll make it tomorrow because politics is it, governance is there, and still everybody must still. It's unfortunate, but that is the predicament. But is there a way to navigate us out of this? Is there a path? Do you know? I mean, I've thought of it. Sometimes I reach a conclusion, sometimes I change it. But is there a path out? We always talk about reorientation. You have said we have to do this, we have to. But how do we chart that course? Do we do it from the mosque? Do we do it from the church? Do we do it from the tradition? Or one leader will just emerge from somewhere and reorientate us? I mean, our votes don't even count. Understand? I used to say our elections were free but not fair. Now they're not even free, they're not fair. I don't
Yeah,
even want to
nothing.
waste my time with all those kind of things. So part of what we do, yes, we have to say what we think should be said. But How do we navigate? There must be a way. We can't go on like this. Honestly, it is
I
scary.
I think it's for us to keep doing what we're doing,
Mm. Okay.
in your space, to hold your space, hold yourself accountable, to continue to speak your truth,
Mm.
regardless of whose ox you grind.
Jesus God,
And
yeah.
then um, again, within our own sphere of influence, to always speak the truth.
Mm.
Yes, you can be mislabeled or you can be called names because you dare to, as they would use the word, rebel against the establishment. I was part of a Nigerian church denomination. When I found out that I couldn't subscribe to their practices anymore, I couldn't be part of that um, establishment
Shenanigans.
or domination, so to speak, and comply. I left. And it was easier for me to be able to speak to say, this is not how it is. This is not what my Bible says. This
Mm.
is not what God says. This is not the dictates of God. This is the dictates of man. So it was easy. It was easier for me to be able to say that
Mm.
from because I'm no longer under that. Otherwise, I'm
Roof, yeah.
rebelling,
Mm.
right? If I am speaking against an establishment that I subscribe to, then I have done some. It's a great injustice. It's actually being a rebel. So
Mm.
I left so that I can speak what I understand my truth is.
Mm.
And as I say that, it's almost like I have my own gospel of Jesus Christ, which is the gospel. I have a responsibility to speak what I understand is the truth. And I will tell it to anyone unapologetically because I know that I'm going to be accountable. I'm not going to see you doing something wrong that I know is wrong according to the word. And this is not to judge you, but this is
Mhm.
to call your attention to it. Whether you listen or not is a different story, but I have that responsibility to call your attention to it. And I think we need to do more of that,
Mm.
hold each other accountable and not that we are forcing ourselves on people or trying to impress our opinion on them, but no, call them out on actions that we both know shouldn't be, whether it is based on your joint religion, whether it's
Mm.
based on your common values, whether it's ethnicity, whether it's even neighborhood. Adubo tatiwa, as Yoruba people say, in
Mhm.
our neighborhood, this is not how we were raised.
Even in the family, even
Even in
within
the
your
family,
family, yeah, fathers
even
should
in
live
your
by example.
exactly,
Yeah.
you do
Yeah.
that. And I think once more of us take that moral stance and do not compromise, then I think we are up to I in at Nigerian airport when they ask me for money, I just say, I'm so sorry, I don't do that. And they've never questioned me. They'll just say, please go, 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 go.
Carry your wallet,
They'll
go.
just like that, just go. So I have, but nicely, I haven't challenged them. Why are you asking me? Da, da, da. I'll just say, I'm sorry, I'm not one of those that do that. I do not believe in it and I'm not going to do it. And they will just like nicely tell me to keep going.
Wow. You know what I've also found out while I discuss with people, and one of my the revelations was that most of the things happening now, they've always been there. Even though we were raised differently, I was raised by my maternal grandma, and I'll never forget that. All the values I stand for today, that's where I got it. I mean, my dad was Muslim, but she was Anglican. So that explained where my trajectory was. But one of the things we found out that because I had a guest last week, great guy, we're talking about these values too. And one of the things we found out was that even when we're younger, especially from the father figures, that used to say, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, they were actually doing it. And most of them were not exposed. It's social media that actually help, you know, expose so many people because one of them said, people have always impregnated house girl now. It's not as if it's a new thing. It's always been there, but there was no Facebook, no Twitter to blow it. That these things have always been there. So we just concluded that look, it's just now that it has now gone out of proportion. So it's a matter of what do you stand for? You must now like, okay, for example, you cannot play politics in Nigeria with your values intact. It is tough. you know, it is tough. It is tough. It's not, I'm not saying it because it's, I know, you know,
But it's
you
not
have,
impossible.
I'm not, it's not, I mean, let's look at our election. Let's even forget INEC now, forget police, forget all that. You have let's say 10,000 polling units, you are running for governor, you have 10,000 polling units. Nobody is going to represent you at those polling units if you don't give them money. You understand? Our people that are poor too, they want something. I mean, what kind of person? I mean, you don't have to go to Harvard to know that if somebody gives him 5,000 naira to cast his vote with the inflation, that money is gone in 48 hours. I mean, that's if you're lucky.
48 hours,
I mean, I'm just
24.
even trying to be generous now. So that money is gone. You've casted your vote. You don't, the guy doesn't owe you anything anymore. That's what I'm saying. So even
He
for the
bought your
labour,
vote.
it's your vote. So the people are also the problem, you know.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's an inherent thing. It's, you know, so that's why I'm saying that if that good man comes, you know, people will probably laugh at him. You know, I'm sure there are people that watch this program like, what are these two people talking about? You know, you know, that kind of thing. So, but I mean, God help us. But let me ask you this: you're a woman of faith. Do you
Yes.
think all these things that happen, do you think that is signs of the end times? I mean, it's nations are rising against nation, false prophets are right. Do you think those are the signs?
I these have always happened. If
Ah,
I if I
it has
I
always
it's
like,
I mean, I'm sure you read your scripture every day. When I'm
okay.
reading some things and I'm like, Lord, this is exactly what is happening right now.
Mm,
I don't know, only God knows when the end of the world will come, but there's a door of mercy that will shut on each individual. And
mm,
we don't know when that door of mercy will be, which is the day we take our last breath. So I think largely we behave like we have all the time in the world. We
mm,
behave like we own tomorrow. Because if we believe that the breath can be taken at any time, I think we will do things differently.
mm. Okay. That's
Because if you know that this day, I mean, if you know that at any time God can take your breath away and you're going to be accountable for your action, I think we will do things differently. We take mercy and grace for granted. We keep thinking there is another chance. God is long suffering. He's going to give us tomorrow. He's going to give us the day after. But we must conduct ourselves like this is the very last minute. Sometimes
mm,
when I'm rushing and I'm trying to do things, like the
mm,
things God has laid in my heart, and I'm rushing to do it. I'm rushing because I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish it before He calls me home. So there's
mm,
that sense of urgency. And this is what we all owe each other, to be able to tell each other that you don't know when that door of mercy is going to shut. And you don't have an opportunity to do a retake. So when we start acting like the world is revolves around us, or that there is no accountability anywhere, that's how we really act. When you
mhm.
are treating someone and you think, oh, God is not going to ask me,
Nothing will
I'll be
happen.
fine, nothing's going to happen, there are no consequences. And I see some of these men beating their hand on their chest like, I am the one. And it reminds me of Herod and Pharaoh and all those kings of old. I'm serious. That's how I see them,
Okay.
boasting. So I think we need to start reminding each other that tomorrow is not promised. Today is what you have. You have an opportunity to do right by humanity because you are going to be accountable for what you do.
Mhm,
So I think that's something that we have control over, to be
mhm,
able to share, whether it's our family, whether our friends, our circle, within our circle. We must speak that truth, and hopefully the circle gets wider and wider. They are convicted, and then they also take the message to their own circle. What is it, that pyramid effect?
mhm,
And that's what I'm hoping we can do, especially as people of faith, regardless of what your religion is.
mhm.
The principles, the underlying principles are the same. Humanity. Islam says it is not the sin against God that is going to take you to hell. is the sin against your fellow human beings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was supposed to be my last question, but I just want to give you another one. It just came through my mind. And, my last guess were part of what I wanted to say earlier when I was talking was that we both agreed that there was a certain generation of Nigerians, those that went to school on scholarship, that generation, people that are usually above 80 now, some of them were ministers at 20 something, 30 something. They became head of state at very old. I don't want to mention it. We mentioned some names at the last, which, I mean, that these people went to England, went on scholarship. They were begging them to enter ships. They went to good schools. They came back, jobs, homes, cars, everything were ready for them, and they never give anything back, you know. Now, we know them. They're still, some of them are dead, some of them are alive. Now, do you think that because that generation message, do you think there's hope with the Gen Zs? Because we've seen some glimmer of hope from some of them, the way they rebel, the way they do things differently. I mean, the percentage of those of them doing extraordinary things might not be as much as we would want. But do you think there's a glimmer of hope from the Gen Zs? Do you think they could be the turning point for Nigeria?
I think so. I think they are the most um, disserviced generation. I think Nigeria has been very unkind to them, to Gen Zs, to this, and even millennials, not just the Gen Zs.
Gen Zs, okay.
Nigeria has been
Mm,
very, very unkind to them.
mm,
Most of this youth, and I was going to call them children, they learned survival from a very early age.
oh,
We didn't have to worry about our school fees when we were growing up.
oh,
Most of them have to worry about their school fees and their parents' survival. They are the ones that have to worry about them. And that is why we must do everything we can to make it easier for them. That youth copper that
mm.
was being
Ale, yeah.
victimized for speaking,
Check it.
we reached out to her.
Mm,
And a few of us, and one of the things I told her, I said, we're here for you.
mhm,
Any way we can support you, what you did
mm.
the right thing. You were
Absolutely.
crying out for help,
Mm,
and we understand you. I did not tell her you shouldn't have used those words. No, you were crying from a place of pain, and anything we can do to support you, let us know. And fortunately, we sent a couple of our some of our youths to go stand with her. Obviously, I
mhm,
couldn't go. They
mhm.
went, they were present. Showore was present there with her and a few others. And that made a difference. And that is what we're
Absolutely.
supposed to do with these
Mhm.
Gen Zs, millennials. We're
Yeah,
supposed to
back them up. Yeah.
support them, stand behind them
Mm,
to say, I don't know what you're going through, I don't feel it, but I am here. If there's anything I can do to support you to be better, then I'll be here. Again, we tend to tell them what to do and how to think, and which we shouldn't. They own this, and we must stress to them that we are here to support them. We are here to be the wind behind their sail, not to say it, but to actually do it as well. To say it, walk the walk, and talk the talk, not just to talk the talk. So that's my appeal to everyone. Find who, whether it's two or three of them you can mentor, what their needs are. And they
interesting.
just need support. They need that emotional support. A lot of them are going through, they have to worry about what they will eat and what their parents will eat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I have one, this thing just keep coming to my head. One last one. Yeah. Do you think we may have a God moment in Nigeria? When I say God moment, Nigeria have always been in dire straits, God just comes and just resettles us and give us a fresh beginning. Do you think that's still possible?
That's what we are praying for.
Amen.
That's what we are praying for. That God moment.
Thank God.
And I believe it will start also on the altars. I
Mm.
think there would be some awakening. I think God is going to bring out his bongo and begin to knock some sense into
Not
some
somewhere.
people's head.
Oh wow, Jumoke Akin-Taylor, fantastic. You always live up to the billing. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're
Thank
very
you.
busy. you know, and we appreciate you. To all our listeners, you've heard from her. Don't feel entitled. You women, it's your right. Go for it. You know, Natasha, that young youth copper, Dr. Ezekiel is there, Jumoke. These are people you can look up to. It can be done, you know, and it's not all men that wants to relegate women to the background, you know. I mean, I'm a strong advocate of strong, assertive person, woman to be, for that matter. I think it's very important. I also believe Nigeria needs a woman president, you know, because the women, I mean, majority of women in leadership have done differently, maybe not all.
A real woman president,
A
though.
real woman, a
A
real
real woman
from the
president.
people's choice, people. No, I mean, Dr. Obi Okonjo-Iweala, those are people that I mean, they can't be as
A
bad
lot.
as we have it right now, you know. Thank you so much for your time. God
If
bless
I
you.
can just say one thing,
Please
I
go
have
ahead.
to also
Mhm.
give a shout out to all the male allies,
Oh yeah,
for all the men that support women to be the best that they can be,
absolutely.
for all the men that give room,
Mm,
maybe sometimes give up their seat so
mm,
that women can sit. There
absolutely.
are a lot of men, and it's not a journey that women should walk alone. It's a journey that men and women must on, partner partner together for this journey. So I want to thank men that continue to support women, and I also want young women to understand that being assertive and being strong doesn't make you less desirable. We need
Mm,
to break that out of our young girls' heads that you have to be docile for a man to
mm,
want you. A man that doesn't want a strong woman is not a man that you should have, or is
mm.
not a man that you should
Yeah.
want, because he's going to
I like
beat
the
you
word
up.
strong, not confrontational.
No,
So
no, not
yeah.
confrontational, assertive.
Yeah,
You know,
assertive. I know. I mean,
yeah,
I'm
assertive.
buttressing your point. I agree with
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you so much once
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you all our
Thank you for
viewers.
your
Thank
time.
you so much. Yeah. Thank you for your loyalty. We appreciate you always. See you next week, Friday. It's a wrap. Thank you. God bless you all. Bye.